everyone, welcome back to the buttonhole series. This video is just a quick get her done method for a buttonhole if you just want to do a very fast buttonhole. This is the method that I use on most of my garments. You know, if you're new to my channel, I do a lot of stuff for my kiddos, so like their play garments and whatever. These are the buttonholes that I put into those garments. So to begin, and I'm working on some very lightweight fabric. This is going to be the same method whether you're doing lightweight or medium weight or whatever. And I've got 2 layers here. So if you have 2 layers, because I've got like a self-line situation, if you have 2 layers, what I'm going to recommend you do is go to your machine. Now that we're doing hand-done buttonholes, but go to your machine and baste the 2 layers together. So you can see I've got these very small stitches around where the buttonhole is going to go. So my line here was here for like the slit, and I've just machine stitched around it. I haven't done this end. It's not critical to do all the ends, and I've got 2 stitches on this end. I basically always have 2 stitches on that end, and I do a small stitch length, something like a 1.5, 1.8, something like that. So then the next step is once you have that.
How do we do that?
I don't know. Let me finish my video and I'll help you. So the next step is to cut open your buttonhole. So you can use embroidery scissors like I'm doing. Make sure that they are very, very sharp if you use scissors. Another method you can use is a chisel. A chisel is new to me. I've been doing scissors for a long time, but I've included, side note, I have a buttonhole kit. Hand-done buttonhole kit, and in there is a chisel. The chisel is a little bit safer because your scissors have to be super sharp. If they're not super sharp, what ends up happening is they become a wedge that just sort of mauls your fabric, and then you've got a hot mess in a hurry of all these frays. Like, it's not a clean cut. Whereas the chisel doesn't have that. Even if it's not super sharp, it's not going to maul your fabric, you know, you're just pressing down on it. Okay, so let me do that again. So you're going to go, if you have 2 layers, I like to move like I'm offset from where I'm going to begin. And I'm between the 2 layers. And that's going to hide my tail for me. So I'm coming up where I'm going to be ending the row, like this row of stitches. And then I'm going to put that tail between my thumb and forefinger. So just hold it for the time being, and I'm going to make my first stitch. So I'm going to come back, you know, kind of even. And like I said, this is a quick get her done method, so I'm not going to be too concerned with having everything line up perfectly. But then you're going to do the buttonhole stitch, and then you pull through. So to do the buttonhole stitch, let's go to the next one. To do the buttonhole stitch, you're going to go behind your needle and behind your needle. So you can see my thread is behind the needle in both places, and then you just pull tight. And I like to pull, see, the buttonhole stitch is going to create a little purl, and I like to pull to the side. That way the purl goes to the side of the buttonhole, and I've got these purls that will be touching each other like this. I prefer to have them, you know, like this instead of up, you know, facing away from the dress. I like to have them pointed in towards the slit of the buttonhole. And you keep spacing and doing these stitches. Now the space for the buttonhole is fairly important. Because it has that purl at the end of the stitch, you want to space out the stitches. It's not, so the stitch of the buttonhole, it's not the same thing as a blanket stitch, first off. People say blanket stitch and buttonhole stitch interchangeably, and it's not the same. The blanket stitch does not have the purl at the end. And because of this purl, the buttonhole stitch is not, you know, the same width up and down. It's wider where the purl is than on the other end. And so you want to space them out so the purls are touching each other, which means the other end there's going to be a gap, you know. If you don't have this gap, then the purls are too smushed, and it will cause your buttonhole to kind of, it buckles up and it doesn't lay nice and flat, because you're basically putting, the purls can't lay nicely. I don't know if I'm saying that right. It's first thing in the morning and I did not sleep well last night, but I think you get my drift. So you just continue. You can see I'm continuing this down the side of the buttonhole. then you just keep doing this. This is a very easy thing to learn how to do. This is not a tailor's buttonhole. It's just a handmade buttonhole that you can whip in your garments. I first got into buttonholes a while ago because my machine kept eating my buttonholes. Or you would place it here and practice, and then it would be half an inch off, and you place it gets into a hot mess in a hurry. So here we are at the end of, actually let me take one more stitch here before I do the tab. Like I said, this is a quick get or done method, and once you practice a couple times, like you can do a buttonhole in about 5 minutes. So here I am at the end of this leg. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my needle through like the underside. I'm going to go through the slit of the buttonhole and go to the underside, and I'm going to come up where my stitches have been ending, okay? I'm going to kind of be in line with those stitches. I'm just going to do a tab, which is a common way and a very easy way to end the buttonhole. So I'm just doing a tab, and I'm going over where my future stitches will end, like kind of in that row, if I can imagine that. And I'm just going to do one tab, and I generally do 2. So I'm going to send my needle back down, and there's the tab at the end of the buttonhole. So I'm going to turn my work around and continue the buttonhole. So to continue the buttonhole, I take my needle up through the slit of the buttonhole, and then I put my needle between where my thread is and where the end of those stitches are going to be. So my thread is below my needle. Remember, we want that to be below or near for the buttonhole stitch, so it kind of just sets you up to keep going, right? I'm behind. So I can keep going with the buttonhole stitch on this leg. Like I said, I got into this because my machine kept, messing up on buttonholes. If you have a machine that does buttonholes, like, I am so happy for you. I just can't relate. I got into a heap of a mess, and it's really frustrating because by the time you do a buttonhole, you're like done with your garment. You've done the rest of it. You're happy with how it turned out. You're excited about it, and then you go to your machine to do a buttonhole, and you sweat bullets, and you want to throw the thing against the wall, and it just it can really become a hot mess in a hurry. So I've been doing this for the last a good 5 years. A good 5 years, and I love it. I literally, in the last 5 years, I've made one exception to do machine buttonholes, and I was like, this is terrible, because I was like, oh, there's 6 or 7 buttonholes on this one dress. Let me just run it through the machine. It had been a long time since I did a machine buttonhole, and I was quickly reminded why I went to hand-done buttonholes. And with that one exception, the last 5 years or so, I've done all the rest with hand-done buttonholes. I've done a couple bound buttonholes, but that's a different story. But I love the hand-done buttonholes. They are exactly where you want to put them. They work out every time. They're beautiful. And they're really fast. Like, once you get the hang of them, and it's not hard to get the hang of them, you can do one in about 5 minutes. I don't sweat it. I just sort of changed my mindset, right? When I do buttonholes, I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to take my garment, do some hand sewing, do this in the evening after the kiddos go to bed, generally speaking, and I'll spend, 15-20 minutes to finish buttonholes on a garment. Like I said, they'll be exactly where I want them to be. They will be done. They won't be like halfway stopped in the middle of the buttonhole, and then you're trying to do a very small zigzag to finish her up on the machine. There's so many situations, right, where that machine just, oy. And then, you can do 2 out of the 3 buttonholes. The machine can do those, and then the third one's messed up. It's just so many things. So you can see, and I've been talking the whole time and trying to not be distracted with the kids in the background. Hold on, sweetie. You can see I'm finished now with this. I've got to do my other tab. So once again, my other tab, hold on, sweetie. I put my needle through the buttonhole again, or through that slit again, and make the tab. Now, all along when I'm doing these stitches, I am pulling just tight enough. So I don't want to pull these stitches to smithereens, but I do want to get them tight. And you can see when you practice that there's a fine line with that. and you can kind of get a feel for things, and it varies on the fabric that you're doing. So now I'm done with my buttonhole, and I just need to secure it somehow. A lot of people will take their needle and they will go through, this is now the underside of my garment. They will go through the underside of these stitches and put their needle underneath and hide their tail that way and kind of secure everything down. I don't like to do that. I find that it stretches out these stitches. So instead, I will just take a small little bite. And this is just going through the lining side. I actually caught the garment side, so let me do that again. There you go. I just do a small little bite, and I pull just to kind of transfer that. And then I do a small little bite again. You can see it's not going through the front. So I do a small little bite again. That allows me to create a loop. And if you've seen my videos before, I like to create a loop. I go through the loop once, twice. I'll do it one more time. I go through the loop once, wrap her around twice, and then I pull tight. And that just like, it sews a knot into your work. So that is how, it's just a very tiny knot off to the side. And finally, last but not least, let's hide that tail because it is super lovely to hide all of your tails. It's a game changer. Once you get in the habit of hiding all your tails, you just can't go back. So you can see my needle is between the lining and the garment fabric, and I pull tight and I cut her off, and that is a hand done buttonhole, quick and easy. How I do for most of my garments right there. I hope this was helpful. I have plenty of other videos in this buttonhole series you can watch over here. And if you have any questions, put them down in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them. And as always, I appreciate y'all for watching and I hope to catch y'all next time. That was very good.
I got Gigi.
Can you call Gigi?